Tell me what the hell are you scared of when in the end the only
Where's the love? Right here on this podcast. Welcome to Love Drops, where your hosts and One Love ambassadors, Charles and Diane, will share love, hope, and inspirational topics taken from their journey and world events. We will also include on-location recordings and special pop-up guests from cool places all around the world. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
whether big or small, love never fails. Oh, love it conquers all. Love never fails.
Welcome to the show. Our guest today will talk to us about Bridge of Light. Diane, will you introduce today's guest to our listeners?
Why, thank you, Charles. I'd be happy to introduce our guest to the listeners. Our guest is Barbara Banner, and in her own words of who she is, Barbara says, I am a joyful, no BS psychic and evidential trance medium who brings through messages with stunning accuracy, humor, and healing. With a deep connection to spirit and a few highly comedic and mischievous guides, I share my unique way of delivering evidence, validation, and ways to lighten the grief. Whether connecting loved ones or delivering, did she just say that? Moments to clients on podcasts, I bring my heart, healing, and humor to whoever is guided my way. Oh, wow. Barbara, we are so excited to have you, your light, and all of your wisdom right here on the Love Drop podcast. You got the mic. Let's go.
So this came to me later in life. And then I found out from some channelers that I've been doing this 1,000 years. That's why I came in, hit the floor, and was running. And I needed a lot of help. I didn't really know anything. In my 60s, I never even meditated before. And then the first time I meditated, I saw my dad. So I was ready. And I needed all the help I could get. I remember when I started taking a trance class after I had gone professional and everything, I was too afraid to let go. Okay. I had that fear and I just couldn't let go. A teacher once said, "This is not for you. You cannot let go." And I don't know if you saw the Indiana Jones movie where he was trying to go across and get the chalice. And he looked down and it was just a chasm. It was like 1,000 feet. Then there were just rocks between them. And they told him, have faith. You have to have trust. And when he threw, because it was an optical illusion, but when you threw sand on it, the bridge appeared. It was just an optical illusion. And I just told my guides, that's what it was like. I said, get me across. I have faith in you. I know you can do it. Literally, they lifted me up over this chasm that I had that I was afraid to walk. And I did it. And I never looked behind. So I'm so grateful for all the help because no one's coming to see Barbara Banner. They're coming to get the messages from Spirit, okay? They get the added bonus of someone who is really jacked up every time I have a session and have a sense of humor, but they're there for the messages. And I have, 35 years of volunteering for organizations that deal in trauma and grief. 14 years on a women's hotline, 12 years in the Cedars ER. That's for my adrenaline rush. And then years on the city's crisis response team where I went with the police. I was on the scene with a dead body and the police, and then the family came and I had to be there, with another team member to help them get through the worst moments of their life.
Wow.
So I was definitely divinely guided, but I didn't know at the time. People would say, why are you doing that? Who wants to go on the scene with the coroner? And I said, because I can. I had the strength. They knew more than I did, believe me. I would never have thought I could do that, but I just did. So
Wow.
it's really all about trust for me because it took a while because I have very funny guides and they give me some crazy stuff where I didn't know if I should say it. And sometimes I thought, oh my goodness. I remember there was a grandma in spirit and her granddaughter was the client. And the grandmother just says, if you want more money, you better do phone sex. And I was shocked when I said it. I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't say that. That just came out of my mouth. And I thought I was going to do some trauma to the young girl. She's laughing. She goes, my husband and I have had a joke about that for years. You know, you want a new chair for the house? You better go do some phone sex. And
Oh,
she said, we were
wow.
talking about it last night. And I said, well, grandma was there. And she said, it's just like grandma to say
Wow.
that,
I
just
love
like
that.
her. So you got to trust, even if it sounds, I really didn't know how that came out of my mouth, but it did. So bridging the light, just
Yeah.
trust because spirit world is not there to lead us astray. They are not mean spirited, no pun intended. They are there to help us find our way and find our purpose in life, which can be several. You
Yeah.
know, you find something that you love for 30 years, that's great. But, you know, things change. And this is my next big passion in life. And I'm so happy because I can do this till I'm like 100. And my mother was
Wow.
104 when she passed. So it's not such a crazy thing. All I
Wow.
got to do is sit down, you know, I don't have to go
Mhm.
running around. So just a lot of gratitude, just
I
a lot.
love it. I love it. And I love your light. And if listeners could just see you, they would see the light just radiating from you right now in your smile, in your presence, in your countenance. Yeah. And I love that. And I want to just circle back for just a second and ask, where are you tuning in from? I
I live in
know.
Los Angeles,
All
right
right,
above
Los
the
Angeles.
Sunset Strip with a view of the city. It's very nice.
Awesome. Los Angeles, California. Love that. And here's another thing I wanted to circle back to. What do you think your fear was that was holding you back from just letting go and letting flow? Where do you think that fear came from?
That I had a long time because, you know, for a while the hypnotist people were very popular and nobody could hypnotize me. And I just couldn't let go. And obviously, it's some past life because all of those things sort of seep down into the next generation in the DNA. When they're gone, the body's gone there, it goes down to the next generation. So I'm not quite sure what happened to me that I'm so afraid of letting go of control, of not being
Mm.
in control. And I don't know what happened. I know why I'm a good archer, you know, that I was the best archer in high school. I had never picked up a bow and arrow before in my life. And within 2 weeks, I was the top person because going back in a past life, I was a Native American Indian. So there you go. It came from somewhere, not
Came
from
from
me.
somewhere. Right. I love that. It came from somewhere. And here's the thing. Right now, our world is at such a pivotal point. There is so much that can be attributed to darkness, right? And just trauma and everything. And it is so important that the light come through, that the light shines through. People are grieving. And for someone like you to be able to step in that space of grief, step in that space between life and death where they've just lost a loved one, and to bring comfort, that is such a gift. And I'm a firm believer that your gifts will make room for you. So, it seems that that's what's happening because we lived in LA and I'm a healthcare professional in the past. And so I know Cedars, I know LAPD, I know all of these different organizations that you are aligned with. These are replicable
Oh, yeah.
organizations.
Yeah.
And so you have to not only be strong in your gift, but there have to be evidence behind what you are bringing.
Oh,
It's not
definitely.
woo 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 woo. Let's talk about how you bring the light of comfort to those that are grieving.
Well, first of all, I tell them that Edgar Casey, famous psychic, said, they're not gone. They just went a little ahead of you. And we're all going to meet up. Just hold on to your horses. I also try to bring in that your loved one is around you. I couldn't do any of this woo-woo stuff on the job, but that they're always around you and to use your intuition because they're putting it in your head. That's what intuition is. It's them helping you. So if you trust yourself and if you think you heard your husband's voice call your name, then you did. Okay? Because they can do anything. I also try to get them to look at something in a different way, to pivot. The only thing stronger than the darkness and the grief is love and gratitude. That's it. And if you can, in the midst of such terrible grief, somehow turn it to gratitude, you had this person in your life for so long and so much joy from them. I'm getting goosebumps. Then it might soften it a little. Listen, grief is horrible. You have to go through it. You have to go with the flow. Don't fight it. Just go through it. And there is no right time. It can take you. You know, a widow could be out dating in 6 months after her husband, but he was probably not a good guy, a bum. But anyway, some people, they're still grieving after 11 years and have never gone on a date because they just couldn't imagine. And that's not really healthy either. They say after 10 years, you should be going outside because when we pass, the only thing spirit wants is for us to be happy again. They do not want us wallowing because they're happy. It's like, hey, this is the best life ever when I'm home. I mean, they say, I don't miss you like you miss me because I'm with you. And I know it's your thinking. And, it may be a one-sided conversation, but they are here. And all they want is for us to be happy and to find joy in our lives. And a lot of times they feel guilty because they're going to start to date or something. I say they only have 3 emotions. They don't have anger or judgment. All they have is love, gratitude, and joy. That's it. That's what their soul needs. And that's what they work on.
Wow.
You don't have to worry. They're not judging anybody. And you want to be with him later, even if you get another husband, you can share them. They don't care. There is no judgment or jealousy. That alone gives them comfort, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Knowing that no one's judging you, you don't have to worry about it. And they're not in the bathroom when you're taking a shower. Okay. All they care about is our soul. Okay.
Right.
Is the development of our soul. They have absolutely no care or interest in our physical. So it's like just an automatic screen comes down, So not to worry about those things because these are things people think about.
Yeah.
How can I have sex with somebody if he's peering over? He's watching. He's not watching. Okay. They're not watching. They don't care.
Wow.
He's in the Grand Library, finding out about the Arcturian civilization.
Wow. So here we go. When you are on job, on site, okay, because there's 2 parts. Like you said, you can't go on site. Heard in a previous interview where you were saying, like, when you go out with the LAPD, they'd be like, okay, now, Barbara, you can't bring that here.
No, I could never do that. But I don't do the LAPD anymore because it's the same job, okay? I was helping people through grief, and it's duplicitous because that's what I do every day when I do readings. I'm helping them. Sometimes you have to go out 3 or 4 in the morning on the team, and I'm tired.
You were done with that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, let's pivot again. I know that, again, in listening to an interview, you were talking about with the children. That's strong, just like grieving parents. And you made the statement that it changed your life.
That story is amazing. If I can.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
This was maybe 3 years ago. I had a woman come to me and she had lost a 6-year-old son. And in my readings, I always let the client ask some questions. We'll do a Q&A. But the first question I like to hijack it and say, I don't want you to tell me what the question is. I just want you to think it. And your son is going to know all he has to know because I'm just going to let you know what he shows me. So she said, okay. And I said, I see your son riding on the back of a giant butterfly. in heaven. That's what he's doing. He's having a great time. And I still don't know what the question was. I said, does that make any sense to your question? And she goes, oh my God, yes, because she started crying. She said, my question was, what are you doing in heaven right now? And she said, what you don't know is after he passed, I bought a book to explain to my younger daughter what death was about and what kids do. It was all about kids who are passing and what the kind of thing kids can do and how to feel about it. And she sent me the picture. She said there was a spread in the book that showed a little boy riding on the back of a butterfly in
Oh,
heaven.
wow.
Oh,
So you can
Wow.
imagine how powerful that was for her. Her son put that in her head as the question. And her son was there when she read him the book, when she read his sister the book, and she knew he was there.
Mm.
Things like that, when you get evidence like that, can be life-changing. It could just
Yeah.
change her whole perspective. And then I said, I have to work with people who've lost kids. So I got certified by Helping Parents Heal, which is like an international, amazing organization for people who've lost children.
Can you tell us just a little bit more about the organization, what you do?
Well, I am certified with them, so I'm listed with their certified mediums that have been tested and, for like a week, and it's really rigorous. And I offer free gallery readings, whatever I can do. They can help you from the moment your child passes, and you'll have these friends for the rest of your life because it's a community. There's a community that understands what you're going through, and they have programs for fathers and siblings and retreats and listeners who will listen to you in the middle of the night when you can't sleep because of the grief. It's really one stop, and it's international, and it is just the finest organization.
Wow. I'd like to put that in the
Yes, please
narrative.
do. Helping Parents
Put
Heal.
that, yeah, I like to put that in narrative. So, in your bio, we also read about the comedic and the say what moment. So, do you have one of those stories to share with us?
Well, I have a funny one. I had a woman comes like this and she's totally skeptical. It was really hard. Everything I did, she was, testing me. What was the pajama color I wore last night? Lady, that's not what we're here for, okay? I'm not like a monkey, okay? So anyway, I shut it down early. And I had her husband. Her husband had passed, but I couldn't take the negative energy. Anyway, 2 nights later at 3 a.m, her husband comes knocking on my little door and he says, I got to show you something. So he shows me a half a toasted bagel with the inside scooped out. Okay. You know how people scoop it out so that they can put even more fattening stuff in it? Okay. So I told her that and she said, why are you telling me this? That's stupid. I don't know why. That doesn't mean anything to me. The end of the week, I get a call. She goes, you're not going to believe this. She said, went to my husband's parents' house, and my father-in-law said, I invented a product and I'm going to show you a prototype and see if you know what it is. So she said, he showed me some contraption and he said, do you know what this is? She goes, I have no idea. He said, it's a bagel scooper. Yeah, I fell off my chair too. Okay. She said, when he said that, it changed my life. And I'm getting goosebumps now because I knew I had the husband. And now I tell Spirit, unless you're coming at me with a really good piece of evidence, do not wake me up to tell me the woman likes to go up and down with her umbrella. I don't care. Just, it's got to be a whopper for you to wake me up. So they don't do that unless something really good. But she said they cried, they laughed, they couldn't believe it. But what they did believe is that her husband's consciousness was alive and well. And he's with his parents and he's with the family. So
Wow.
those kind of things.
I guess we hit it with the bagel scooper. So, because it's like, say what? You can't make this up.
You can't make it up. I always tell people, you can't make this stuff up. It doesn't even, you can't.
In this that you're doing right now, what is your greatest joy in doing what you are now doing?
At the end, if they don't tell me on their own, I just say, do you feel a little lighter after this? And they say, yes. And something else that I do in every session, at the end, I do an exercise with them because I believe you shouldn't have to go to a medium and pay a lot of money to get closer to spirit. I can't bring them back, but I can bring them closer. So I do a little exercise, and I'll tell you what it is. I say, I'm going to count to 3, and you're going to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind, the first item. 1, 2, 3. What is it? Both of you, tell me something. Don't think. What is the first item that comes to your mind?
House.
A house. Okay. What about you, Charles?
A pendulum.
A pendulum?
Yes.
Okay. In the next week, a representation of a house and a pendulum will come to you where you do not expect it. I don't know in what way, but spirit makes it really memorable. Like, why am I seeing, I turn on the TV and there's a house. That's the house we saw. Anyway, it's going to be something you understand. And let me just show you one example. A podcast host, I was telling her about the exercise, and she said, an elephant. And then like, oh my God, how am I going to see an elephant? Because it doesn't count if you just go to the zoo. It has to be, whoa, that is definitely spirit. 2 days later, she sends me this. She said, I took my son to a mini golf, and look what they made.
Oh, wow.
Look,
I see.
like
Yeah.
a 20-foot tall elephant that he had to put the golf ball through. That's the kind of crazy stuff. And somebody had a wrench, and she sent me something where Google put a wrench in the logo. You've never seen that before.
Exactly. Wow.
Exactly. And it makes people understand, wow, we connected because spirit put that in your head because they knew where and when you would see it. And I say, bring the family in, do it every week. Have your daughter say, pick something. You know what I mean? Bring everyone together. That would make spirit so happy to see the family together and to know that everybody knows that they're around, watching over them.
Yes. Beautiful. So here we go. We're going to do 2 things and a closeout. It's kind of a yin yang. The first is you kind of hit on it with the wife of the bagel scooper, bagel scooper. So you kind of hit on it with that. But how do you align with the doubt? How do you align with you're bringing the wrong light, even though it represents love, even though it brings comfort?
That's what took the longest. I've only been doing this 5 years, everyone else is 30 years. That took me the longest, is to trust, because as some of the things I told you, I get some wacky stuff from them. And I was afraid to, you don't want to be wrong, especially in the beginning when you're just starting out. You don't want to say anything that's going to make you feel foolish. And every time they gave me something, it was correct. And sometimes you just don't say it, like you think, well, I know it's a son. And you don't say it. And then she'll say, my son. And I say, why didn't I say it? Why didn't I trust it? And you do that enough. And now I just say, this may sound wacky, but my guides are saying blah, blah, blah. And you just got to go with it. You just got to go with it. I had a guide, and I didn't know what the question was. And I said, your son is showing me his whole body squished up into a glass jar. And it looks like something that would be on, Frankenstein's shelf.
Yeah.
I said, does this have anything to do with the question you asked? She says, no, I don't. And if you're not attuned or open, then you're not going to see it. She goes, no, I have no idea what that is. I said, okay, tell me what the question was. She said, my husband and I went to a concert, and it was my son's favorite band, but he passed before we could go. So I got a jar full of his ashes and brought it to the event and sprinkled it around because I wanted to make sure he was there with us. I said, so wait a minute. You don't see your son showing us that he's in a jar and you bringing a jar of your son? You don't get that? She said, oh, she said, he was with us. But what I'm saying is you have to be open because it's going to go straight over your head if you don't. And that's the same with signs. You don't want to miss the signs, the feather or the door, the cabinet keeps popping open, or your hat keeps blowing off when it's not even windy. Anything that's a little out of the ordinary that you're not used to, that are signs. And I said, if you see a coin, pick it up. It'll probably have your birth year on it as the date.
Amazing. Amazing. Pay attention to the signs. Pay attention.
Whatever is out of sync or whatever is a little out there,
Mm-hmm.
And how can it be bad if you just say, well, what if it really is him,
Exactly.
Because they can think of things. I said, your he's just smoothing out the hair in the back of your head, just loving you the other night. She goes, oh, I jumped out of bed. I thought it was a spider on my hair in the back. Okay.
Ah.
I said, it wasn't. He was stroking your hair, lady. Open up.
Yeah.
Open. Just let, and the
Yeah.
best way to open up, and I will end it with this, is to meditate.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yes, I can really relate to that, especially through meditation.
Yes, that's it. Nobody wants to meditate. I can't do it. When a client comes, I have a resource page and it has some guided meditations on it. Just click on it and it'll take you through all these meditations to meet your own loved one and lots of different things. And there's a website called soulproof.com put together by one of the pioneers in the spiritual industry. And everything is free. Articles on anything you want, tapes with the best mediums and people in the spirituality. Everything is free ebooks, soulproof.com.
Awesome. We really appreciate you taking the time, Barbara, to just join us. Your time is non-refundable. I want to just add, because this is very different and this is new and this is definitely stepping out of the box because I never had a medium on the show before. I have people that kind of reached out, and it's how it makes you feel. If it makes you feel like there is light, you have, like you said, you have to trust. If it's a heaviness, if it's something that's just off, you have to trust. And what I'll say is this: the light you bring resonates love in me. I always say that the vibe don't lie. And just being in this space with you, even if the subject matter or even if everything that you've shared goes over your head, before you're so quick to judge, just see how it feels. A lot of times, like you say, pay attention, but a lot of times you have to just feel it. Things are different. Totally. My mom says you cannot continue to do the same thing and expect different results. You can't. So you cannot keep beating on things, trying to get to the light.
Try something else.
Try something else.
Try to pivot. But everything we go through, we've signed up for on a soul contract. And the difficult things we go through are only to teach us something. They're all lessons. We're just here to learn. So just go with the lesson. And I know you won't find out why your husband died at 40 until you get on the other side. And then you'll say, oh, so the universe didn't do this to me. It did it for me.
Whew. Yeah. We thank you so much for joining us. We thank you for all that you have shared. We thank you for just being a bridge of light for so many, even the difficult ones. We thank you for that. We thank you for your love. We thank you for, again, your time. And listeners, we're going to put all the links in the bio. Please feel free to check Barbara out, check out the link. And if the show resonated, please share it forward, spread the love, spread the light. If you haven't, subscribe if that resonates with you. And until next time, Charles and I say,
one love.
Never a second will I waste, never an opportunity to taste the sweetness of this life.
Thank you for tuning in to the Love Drops podcast. Be sure to follow this podcast and share the love with everyone you know. Until next time, this is Charles and Diane signing off. One love. One love.
Love it conquers all. Love never